Hello, everyone. I am now very conscious that I made the last two videos a little bit longer than I had intended. So this one I will make really short for you. I just want to make a few quick comments on crisis communication. I think your textbook gets it down reasonably well. And so I just wanted to build out one part of what's going on in the text. Here are the definitions from Business Communication for Success. They're not really definitions, but two good descriptions. Because crises are bound to happen despite the best planning, every organization should have a communication plan, which includes designating a crisis communication team and spokesperson. This goes back to what we talked about in the content strategy lecture, this idea of, hey, we need to meet our objectives, or we need to meet our strategy. And one of those objectives should probably be really effectively dealing with crises. And so the tactics become, how do we designate a spokesperson? How do we build this team? Who says what at what times, and so on. Another really great description. People will want to know what happened and where to get further details about the crisis. Lack of information breeds rumors, which can make a bad situation worse. And I'll build out that in just a slide or two. So as part of building that plan, the textbook does list some really great questions to ask, including what is happening? Is anyone in danger? How big is the problem? Who reported the problem? Where is the problem? Has a response started? What resources are on scene? Who is responding so far? And is everyone's location known? Really great, rather questions to consider. But they do miss, I think, one really crucial thing in crisis communication that I do want you to think about. And that is this question: has a crisis occurred? And I think this is the most important question you need to answer. And I think it needs to come in your first piece of communication in a crisis. So that's why I list here three other things to think about. First, the most important piece of communication in a crisis is the first piece of communication. And so what comes out first is going to dictate the tone of a crisis in a lot of ways. That first piece of communication must acknowledge this question, that a crisis has occurred. And lastly, your audience expects that piece of communication to come very quickly, especially in a world of TikTok and Twitter and Instagram. Information spreads really quickly. I mentioned in the content strategy lecture this idea of information communication technologies, and as they get faster and faster, responses to crises need to keep up with that pace, and they always need to start with, "Hey, something has happened, and we're going to respond to it." You can think about situations perhaps at UD that violated this piece of crisis communication advice. There was the letter I asked you to edit came out a little over 24 hours after the event, which left people already asking, do senior leaders at the university even know that something has happened? You can think about the domestic violence incident where it took the university here about 3 days to respond. And if any of you were on campus during that, you know that tensions were really high about, hey, does the university know? Does it care? And this is a textbook example of missing this piece of crisis communication, of just saying, hey, we've acknowledged that something's happened, and maybe we'll have further information as we go. And so just to cap things off for this week, and I'll stop sharing and just bring it back to me. To cap things off for this week, some of the comments I got in reflections and in comments this week were that some majors see themselves as kind of apart from these ideas of content strategy, of crisis communication, because of the nature of their work. What I just want to stress you to think about as we close things out lecture-wise for this week is that even if you won't be on a crisis communication team, or even if you won't be on a content planning team, your institution will be doing content planning and crisis communication planning. And those writers might reach out to you, or those writers or editors might reach out to you and ask for pieces of information. And so with the foundation of knowledge here, of just knowing what usable content is, of knowing what recyclable content is, of what content planning is, of what crisis comm is, these are going to guide you in understanding what kinds of information those people are looking for. And so these are all really crucial parts of just being part of the infrastructure of an institution or an organization, and being a really effective part of that infrastructure. And so as we wrap things up here, just think about that while you're doing the exercises and discussions this week. You might not have to work really directly with this stuff in your job or in your preferred job in the future, but somebody in that organization is going to have to. And at some point, they might come to count on you specifically. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind as we practice. Keep that in mind as we write. That might not be your future work, but it will be somebody's, and you'll be a part of it. So thanks for listening this week, and I'll look forward to all of your work rather on Canvas. Thanks, everyone.